What up, party people? Welcome back to another episode of Controversial Album Covers. This is episode number 52. Today we are talking about Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. This was released on July 21st, 1987, and it was their debut album. The original painting is an oil painting done by Robert Williams. He painted it in 1979. It depicts a robot rapist getting ready to be disemboweled by a metal avenger. Again, this was painted in 1979, well before this album came out, and it took him several years, but he was finally able to sell it for a whopping $10,000. Cut to 1987, Axl saw this on a postcard and loved it, but he knew Geffen probably wouldn't dig it as a cover. However, to his chagrin, Alan Niven, their band manager, and Tom Zutaut, who was the guy that originally signed them to Geffen, loved it, and they knew that it would cause a controversy and probably get them some free press, so they went with it. They secured the rights. Even Williams was like, this is going to cause a lot of problems. And lo and behold, it did. Several retailers refused to stock the album, so they came out with the alternate version, which is a Celtic cross of all 5 band members on it. This was originally designed as a tattoo by Axl Rose and Billy White Jr. The genius of this, though, is Alan Niven knew that this wouldn't sell, so when they pressed it, they pressed 30,000 copies of this and 30,001 copies of this so that they lost zero downtime when they had to shift over to this album. It's just genius marketing. You would have thought that that would have led to a fairy tale ending for the real Fab Five that is Guns N' Roses, but it did not. Mostly because it did not sell well the first year. In fact, it only sold about 200,000 copies, which sucks considering they spent $365,000 producing it. The problem was while they were big in LA and Southern California, nobody outside of that world knew them. Radio wouldn't play their stuff, and MTV certainly wasn't playing Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle video. Geffen was getting ready to call it quits, and they were getting ready to just cut their losses when David Geffen decided to give it one last ditch effort. He called MTV himself, and he was able to get MTV to give them a time slot. They would allow it to run at 4 a.m. Eastern time, one shot. It worked. They started getting calls and requests for it, so they started playing it more, and then radio stations started picking it up, and from there they were off to the races. Appetite would go on to be the #1 selling debut album of any artist anywhere. Suck on that, Milli Vanilli. While it took them almost a year to get on the charts, once they were there, they spent 147 weeks on the charts. It also went on to sell over 30 million copies to date. If you go back to the controversy in this one, this is starting to catch slack. Axl and the boys are stated as saying, and this is amazing, it was a symbolic social statement with the robot representing the industrial system that's raping and polluting our environment. This is my BS face. I'm a huge Guns N' Roses fan. I followed them since day one. I read all the magazines because that's the only way you could get information on your bands at that time. There was no internet. And never once, anywhere in all those years did Axl or anybody talk about the raping of the environment or pollution. It's a bunch of BS to help sell albums, which is totally fine. And if you don't believe me, listen to Robert Williams himself. Remember, he painted this almost 10 years before the album was released, and he said, look, there is a very small subset of people that enjoy this kind of art. He's like, there is nothing hidden in my art. There is nothing subliminal. He's like, it is just lowbrow cartoon art. Which it is. It's amazing, but it is. It's just lowbrow art. There's nothing hidden in the meaning on this. And if you don't believe that, cut back to what Axl Rose really wanted the original cover of this album to be. And that was the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger that was on the cover of Time magazine. Fortunately, Geffen said, ixnay on the Ace Shuttle Spay Bay. And I can't imagine what subliminal motives he would have had behind that, but it would have been interesting to find out. Robert Williams has done a couple other album covers, Mark Allman and Fotis Slut, several Scatterbrain titles, and most notably Wall of Voodoo, Ugly Americans in Australia. I wanted to do a little more information on the art piece. As far as I know, Axl actually owns the original art piece. He picked it up for a cool $600,000. I saw that in a weird interview with some Swedish reporter. I think it was on Netflix or something. And he said that Williams hates him because he paid $600,000 for it. I don't know why Williams would care. I mean, unless he's ticked off because he only got $10,000 for it. But I don't know. It could have been Axl talking out of his butt, which he did quite a bit. But lastly, I want to leave you with this. For all of you keyboard warriors out there and that are after censorship and stuff, explain to me why when this was a postcard that originally you could buy in at least one museum in the LA County in 79 and 80, it was art, but when it became an album cover, it was smut and had to be banned. The reason I ask you this is because if this image offends you, then this is your bus stop. This is your last warning. You're going to want to get off here, because we are going down a road that is going to be bumpy and fraught with naughtiness. We are talking severed heads, disemboweled bodies, decapitated bodies, suicide photos, morgue photos, Jesus covered in every type of bodily fluid you can imagine, and some that are created, and just nasty, nasty stuff. So if you are easily triggered, or if you are not a big fan of bloods and gore and you don't want Satan to take your soul, then this is your bus stop. Thank you so much for riding with us. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next series. And check out some of our earlier videos. But if any of this stuff if this is offensive to you, then consider this your warning. We'll refund the ticket. But if you're down with all that stuff, get ready, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And as always, thanks for watching. Please like and share our videos, and we'll see you next time. SpatulaCityRecords.com. We're out.